Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, the game is afoot. It's elementary, my dear Mario. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going so good. I have to admit, Patrick, we are recording this. We're all post-vaccinated, so we're recording this in person for the first time since last year. And I'm having difficulty making eye contact with people.
It's very hard.
I'm smiling a bunch, but getting used to interacting with people in the same room is it's like relearning that social skill.
Well, I've gotten very used to performing that opening to an empty room, and so there are all these extra gestures and stuff that I do now to be get your energy up, and I don't need to do that anymore, but I have gone right back to it.
It's I have to, before coming over tonight,
Yeah.
I was like, I better brush my teeth. I haven't been around people, so I don't know if I smell bad. You know what I mean?
Mark, you smell great.
Thank you. That is a weight lifted off my shoulders.
I
You
know,
really have
I know
no
you were
idea.
fishing for it. I'll just go right to it. You smell great.
I'm not going to deny it. I wanted confirmation.
We are also joined today by our good friend, podcaster, and co-host of the Same Day Shipping podcast, Ryan Mogge is here.
Yay!
Hey guys!
Hi, Ryan.
This is so fun to be in person with people.
Yeah, you were one of our last guests to record in person when we did a Valentine's Day episode.
And I said, I shall not do this over Zoom.
That's right.
I said, get your vaccinations so that I can return to NCS.
Oh, we figured out guests on for a distance podcast maybe 3 times over the course of over the course of 14 months. It's so much work, and you just look, it's nice to be in person and together. And Ryan, I'm so glad that we have you for today, because we are going to be casting the great detectives of fiction with Nintendo characters, and we're doing this, of course, because hold on, we've got business to get through. I haven't done it in person. The energy is so high. I feel so weird. Do you guys feel so weird? I love it.
It's a fun weird.
It's a fun weird.
It's an adrenaline rush.
Speaking of an adrenaline rush, my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch, would you like to borrow it? You can certainly try. All you have to do is email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
Woo, that felt good. And give us a mailing address so we can send you my copy of this game. You play it for as long as you want. I pay for the postage back. It costs you nothing. There may be a copy of Untitled Goose Game in there. Instead, that's a little goose prank. There's nothing you can really do about it. It's just sometimes Sonic is a goose. That's really it.
The other thing you can do is you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get this show. It helps people find the show. It makes us feel good. Everybody wins. You get to practice your literary technique. Everybody gets something out of the deal.
Right, and we are critiquing all of the reviews for the literary techniques used in them. You get extra points for elevated rhetoric or for irony, all of these things where we're generous with the scores, but we are grading them.
But we greatly appreciate it, and we'll give you a shout out on the show as well, if that means anything to you.
Yeah, if it does. And speaking of shout outs, I guess, I was a guest on the Nintendo Pals podcast last week. I guess it posted on Monday, so we'll say this week. So go check that out. I had a good conversation with those guys about all kinds of stuff that's going on in the world of Nintendo. Okay, but now let's get into our topic. Let's discuss the great detectives as Nintendo characters. Okay, and the reason we're doing this is because Famicom Detective Club is out tomorrow. So that's 2 remade NES games that were never localized outside of Japan, and they are murder mystery games. And we're all excited, I think, to play them. But we don't have anything to say about it yet because no one has played it. So we're just going to talk about the detectives, the great detectives, and who would be them from Nintendo.
And I'm so excited to talk about this, and I'm so excited Ryan is here
Yeah.
for this because we all share a deep love of some of these characters.
Oh my gosh. I love a sleuth. Now, when the sleuth is employed professionally as a sleuth, I love that. When the sleuth is doing it on an amateur basis, I'm into that.
Love it.
I love when you figure out mysteries, especially murders. There's something just really exciting
really
about
satisfying about a murder
yes,
mystery.
And when you just do it again and again, book after book or episode after episode.
Or book after book that becomes episode after episode. That's okay too.
Or one movie and then Netflix gives you $500 million to make more.
Look, we will get to Benoit Blanc on the list. Should we run through the list of detectives we're going to be doing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we have selected 10 of the greatest detectives in all of fiction. This is indisputable, I think. And if we happen upon any others as we go, we will interject and deal with them then. But so we are doing Sherlock Holmes, Hercule Poirot, Benoit Blanc, Phryne Fisher, Veronica Mars, Miss Marple, Nancy Drew, Philip Marlowe, Columbo, and Jessica Fletcher.
A murderer's row.
Yes, a murderer's mystery row.
A murderer's finder's row.
Yes, correct. Ryan, I do feel like, Mark, you said that we all share a love or a passion for these characters in these stories. And I feel like I do to a lesser extent than the two of you. I feel like I am borrowing Ryan's passion here.
And you know what? I've got enough.
Yeah, I know you do.
And it was so fun before this. Mark and I just went back and forth talking about like literally 20 different theories.
Yeah.
Some which you can only get on Acorn streaming. I'm not going to recommend it because we didn't say nice things about that one. But there's so much fun to be... that sounds bad. But there is so much fun to be had in watching someone catch someone else.
Yeah.
I love it.
I agree with that. That doesn't sound bad. I think that sounds good.
Because there's usually something horrible that happens at the beginning. Once you get past that part...
Sure. Like a murder.
The murder happens. Yeah. Yada, 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 the murder. But it's just so fun. Especially, I like comeuppances.
Yeah, totally.
Justice. You're a fan of justice.
I love justice, and I love reversal of fortune.
Yeah.
So, like, when we talk about Columbo.
Oh my God, Columbo.
He's the best because he catches murderers, but he mainly catches rich murderers.
Just the richest, worst, the most, like, affluent think they're going to get away with everything, that they're just smarter and, man, I hate them so much.
Well, and there's something about all of the people on this list where they all share this sense of kind of like beach read murders where, it's not really like, I don't think any of these, with the exception of maybe like Philip Marlowe, like those stories maybe get like the darkest out of all of these.
Sure.
But most of
There's
these
no
are
Clarice
really like
Starling on our
right.
list.
Yeah. Like it's murder, but the stakes are low in a lot of these.
Yes.
It's a comfy, cozy murder for a lot of
This is cozy.
Guys, if I get murdered, I just hope it's in a way, that one of these people would be able to solve. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that would be the most fun way for that to happen.
Yeah, where your corpse is discovered with like a peach pit next to it, and then we had to figure out.
It's possible that I died because I like tripped over a dog.
Right.
Yes, but that's not really what happens.
So we're starting with Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
Which is appropriate because he's like the detective here, right? That so many of these the detectives that follow are either like just someone else's version of a Sherlock Holmes or like outright rejection of that type of detective, right?
Yes.
Like he's just everywhere.
Yeah.
It's hard to even think about detection without thinking about deduction. And it's crazy that was something that Arthur Conan Doyle like put together. It was like, maybe this is how you solve things, deducing information.
But it's also like the introduction of like the deducing for sure, but also of like this eccentric detective who like has the quirks that also make him impossible to deal with, right?
Yes.
Like, and that's where I ended up leaning, I think, almost more heavily than in the my choice for this for Sherlock Holmes is not a particularly good detective or an observant person in the Nintendo universe, but it is someone who maybe plays violin. I assume plays violin. It is Ludwig von Koopa of the Koopa Kids. clearly the most annoying of the Koopa kids. Has that crazy like Beethoven hair.
Mhm.
Yes.
And yeah, I really for no other reason than I find him to be obnoxious. And I feel like that puts him in the Sherlock mold.
I could definitely see Ludwig like being really arrogant.
Yeah, totally.
Like of the Koopa kids, probably like the most like full like self-centered, which I think is a very kind of like Sherlock sort of like personality trait.
Well, and he frequently positions himself as like the penultimate boss, right? Like the
Mhm.
last of the Koopa kids that you have to. So like, yeah, he's got an ego for sure. Probably plays violin. Is Sherlock Holmes?
And could probably do with like a friend.
Yes, 100%.
Because that's, to me, what makes Sherlock palatable.
Mhm.
If you take Watson out of it, I'm not really interested in Sherlock.
Yeah, Sherlock, no Watson.
Sherlock, so no Watson is not going to work.
Yeah, you're right. He really does need that like that straight man almost that like takes the edge off of it and can kind of be his like moral compass a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, an occasional body man too, right? Like can I
Mhm.
mean not I guess not always because Sherlock is also like a capable fighter, right? Like or like if you put him in like a sword situation, he's
Yeah.
fine. But like sometimes you need Watson to be like a little bit of a bruiser, right?
Right. So who would be Ludwig's
Oh boy,
Watson? I know this is outside the assignment.
It is,
so.
but Roy, right? I mean, I think we got to stick
Yeah.
in the Koopa Kid family.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And Roy can be a bruiser for
Yep.
sure.
Mhm.
And I definitely, I love Roy with all my heart. So I think
He's
he
the
would
best
be the
one.
moral
Yeah.
compass.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nailed it.
He would choose the right.
I feel like I went a completely different direction.
I love this.
And I think it's because when you look at all of these detectives, there's so much they have in common. So I was trying to pick out the things that are unique or special about them. And I think one of the things that Sherlock has is he's got style.
Okay.
So he's the star.
Mhm.
He's got style. He is very competent. I went with Fox McCloud.
Ooh, that is so good.
That is really good.
Oh, I love that
And
so
he's got
much.
like a couple Watsons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So
There's
he's
a whole
good.
crew of them. Yeah, that's such a good pick because in addition to like all the stuff we were saying, the kind of like negative about Sherlock, it is really important. Like he's good. Like there's a
Yeah.
reason he's arrogant. It's because he's really good. He's really competent. So having that kind of like fly guy like swagger,
Yeah.
that's like perfect.
Also, I feel like I can picture Fox McCloud having a secret opium addiction. Like I feel like
100%.
that tracks like 100% for me.
It's off screen, but it's happening.
Yeah. We don't talk about it a lot.
And wearing a duster.
Yes. Do you think he can smoke a pipe in the cockpit of that little spaceship?
I think he probably like there's probably some opium like vaping going on,
Yes.
right, in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, now that we've invented vapes, we can just assume all of future things will have vapes in them.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And opium will make a comeback in
Yes.
the future in some form. My pick, I kind of leaned a little bit more towards like the like arrogant, sardonic, like personality, like that kind of stuff. So I picked Rivali from Breath of the Wild.
Oh, that's so good.
Because I feel like Rivali is like he's really like he's boastful. He's really he is arrogant. He's like all those things, but he is like a team player, even though he like pretends to like not want to be.
Right.
Like he's willing to like do his part.
Yeah. As one of the champions.
Yeah.
Like he views the rest of the champions as Scotland Yard, right?
Right.
Who is Rivali's Watson? Have you given any thought? Or is it just Link?
It could be Link, except I think he doesn't respect Link
Oh, you're
enough,
right.
or at least not like maybe like post defeating Ganon, he would respect like Link a little bit more.
Like when he's dead? What are you talking about?
Look, Sherlock can be a lot of things. He can be a ghost.
He could be a ghost. Watson could be a ghost.
Has there been Ghost Sherlock and Medium Watson? Has that been?
I think we gotta
gotta
pause
cut
the
that.
pod.
That's too good.
That's such a good idea.
That's insane that hasn't happened.
Sherlock's a ghost from the Victorian era.
Yes.
He haunts Watson.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's good.
This is the show that Mark and I were talking about we need to find.
Yes.
I've been searching the world for Ghost Sherlock.
But what about one of the other champions for his Watson? Like
Maybe like I was gonna say Urbosa, but she's maybe a little too like surly. Like she has maybe too much because like Watson,
he's reserved.
And he is kind of like very vanilla, and so
yeah, all of the champions got like a little bit of attitude. Don't
yeah,
they?
Yeah.
Except for like Zelda, and that doesn't make sense. All right, well, okay, we'll go with Urbosa.
Because that's the first thing we say.
That's the first one.
Usually
and the best
right.
One. All right. All good picks for Sherlock. Let's move on now to Hercule Poirot, Mario on the Orient Express here. Who would like to go? I'm sorry.
I hope you just do it over and over because there's so many things with murder in the title.
Oh God.
And you could just make all.
All right, let me look them all up. Ryan, let's start with you for Poirot.
Okay, so Poirot is a tough one for me.
Mm-hmm.
I find him very annoying, and it took me. I love reading Agatha Christie novels, and I found like I could handle Poirot so much more in the books than in movies, and I think it was because until I saw some of the like more silly versions of Poirot, because Poirot is a jerk.
Totally.
He's a jerk. He's always right in the end, but the interest of the story is everyone else. Poirot's inner thoughts are like the least interesting thing, and that's to me the weakness of David Suchet's like that series.
Yeah.
Because it thinks I care way more about Poirot than I don't care about him. I care about the murders. Like Murder on the Orient Express is a great murder mystery. It happens to have him as the detective,
totally.
but like
this is a sidebar, but
Yes.
I'm curious your thoughts on the most recent Murder on the Orient Express film, starring the man
Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, and directed by
I
him.
watched it during quarantine, and I needed it.
Oh, okay.
And so it worked for me because I really wanted to watch a Christie movie. And it was available to stream.
I saw it in the theater.
Oh.
And when Sarah and I went to this movie, the theater was filled with couples of just the beefiest men you've ever seen.
That's amazing. Wait, and then Kenneth Branagh's not that beefy in the movie.
No.
But Poirot is a pretty beefy character.
Who was at the movie? These are the people that wanted to see Murder on the Orient Express.
If I went for beefy representation, I would be disappointed by that movie.
Yeah, as would I.
You know, I didn't really like it. I was disappointed because like I thought it was weird, like the backstory or like whatever was going on with like Poirot in that version where they like made him like tortured a little bit,
we don't need that.
and like that I did not care for. But I loved Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
Well, and I also feel like that is a good like Kenneth Branagh part because that's just a personage that I find kind of annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I also will say that it has Johnny Depp in the way that I'm willing to deal with Johnny Depp right now, which is just like straight up creepy, evil. Everyone hates him,
and super dead.
So if I know he's gonna keep getting cast in things, but if those things can always be true,
right?
I think I'm okay.
He can be our Mr. Body. That's okay.
Yes, that's fine.
So Ryan,
okay,
who have you cast?
I went with somebody who's also fastidious,
and
I hope that this works for you guys. Okay, so I went with someone who's also fastidious, who is central to the story, but not the reason that you're involved in the story. You really could take or leave this person, but also they're driving a lot of the plot. And so that person is Tom Nook.
Oh, that is interesting.
You can't really get rid of him because he's key, but also he's kind of annoying, and you're not savoring your time with him.
Poirot, he have a lot of money.
He was comfortable.
Yeah, because he has like the valet and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And he could afford mustache wax.
So much mustache wax.
Much.
That mustache is never going to droop.
Yeah, I mean, he considers himself the world's greatest detective.
Right.
So I think he charges equally for that service.
And that's such like an important point. And I think that's like, in my mind, Tom Nook considers himself the greatest businessman.
Totally.
Yes.
And so I think, and like what you were saying about like, Tom Nook is central to Animal Crossing, but you do not play the game to interact with Tom Nook.
I mean, if you do,
you're
psycho.
No, that's actually awesome because like not only do you not play it to interact with him, you also don't play as him, right? Like he occupies this like weird nether space of that game where so much of it is just interacting you're never charmed by your interaction with Tom Nook, but you need to seek his services all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good one.
And sometimes he wears a cute suit.
Sometimes he does.
So these are the things.
That's good.
So my pick is also from Animal Crossing.
Oh my goodness.
But I went a little different, and I think this character I don't think has the pomp of like he's not as stuffy as Poirot is. But I went with Blathers from Animal Crossing, like the curator of the museum. Yeah. One, I think they share a similar physique, similar build. As far as I know, there's no proof that he doesn't have a Belgian accent. But I think he's very like analytical and like detail oriented, and he's very like gentlemanly. Again, like Poirot's maybe a little more stuffy than Blathers is, but I think they feel a similar need where it's like you go to Blathers because you need information, and he's able to like survey what is going on and then like provide it to you. In his case, it's mostly about bugs, but also
and fish and pieces of art and fossils. If you bring him a bug, I was going to ask this, does Poirot he's famously afraid of bugs, right? He doesn't like them?
He doesn't like
He'll
them.
tell you about
but
them.
I bet he has a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, if you brought him a bug and there was a murder involved,
right, he would
figure know everything he needed to know about that bug. No, I like that. I like that he's an authority.
Right, yeah, exactly. He kind of has that like air of importance.
So I approach this one, I guess, slightly differently. Again, maybe just leaning on the more like negative personality traits of the detective.
Hate this detective.
Why I hate this detective. But like he's someone that you tolerate because you need him, right? He is someone who is like fussy to the point where you're like, why are you like this? Like I think all the time about James Bond's cocktail snobbery, and it's like, do you think that's cool? It's just annoying. Like, let people make you a drink. And like Poirot has that quality as well. And so I'm putting all of that, perhaps unfairly, on our good friend Luigi.
Whoa! I'm offended on Luigi's behalf.
Look! I love Luigi, but we put up with a lot of like Luigi-isms,
He's
right?
a goof.
That's true. He is a goof. One thing I will say in Luigi's defense,
please,
is like Luigi is not a difficult person. Like I think like Luigi, you know, even if he's not going to send food back at a restaurant.
No.
Right? He's not going to complain about.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You can walk all over Luigi. Now, is he annoying to be around? Like
totally.
Probably.
Yeah. If you listen. If you just kind of
you don't
tune him out.
But I think Luigi also probably has some detecting bona fides, right? Like there's the old Mario is Missing game. And even in something like Luigi's Mansion, he is searching for, not really finding clues or anything, but like
he put some stuff together.
Yeah, he does some light puzzle solving.
He does some puzzle solving to save his friends.
Yeah, which may just make him a detective and therefore eligible to be any of these characters.
I think he's eligible. I feel like he's a beta.
Yeah.
And I would say that Poirot in all his forms is alpha.
But I think like Luigi, let's say we were casting Luigi, right? Like I think Luigi could pretend. Like if we like pumped Luigi up enough, right?
Sure.
And like really like I think he
had
could
all non-essential personnel like off the set.
I think he could successfully play the character.
Here's the other thing.
But I don't think it is his personality.
Here's the other thing. Mustache. The only one of these characters who has the mustache.
You're right. The mustache is a key point. I also think that you could look at it on a age continuum. If Luigi is a young man, which you could make him if you wanted for this story, and then Poirot is older and experienced, maybe after all those mansions, Luigi builds that arrogance.
Oh, yes. So basically we're seeing like a young, inexperienced Poirot, like before he becomes, like he retires from like the Belgian police and he
famous for busting a lot of ghosts. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. We don't know his backstory. It could be a rich.
Tell me 3 things about Belgium. You can't.
Chocolate.
Okay, all good picks. Next up is Benoit Blanc, the detective from Knives Out. Mark, we will start with you.
Okay, So this one is interesting because we talked a little bit before the show that a lot of these characters are like templates in a way, right?
Yeah.
And I think Benoit Blanc, Knives Out is such a love letter to these types of like murder mystery, especially these like Agatha Christie, like, you know, there's as many stars in this movie as there are in the sky. Like it all kind of takes place in a single location for the most part. Um, and but Benoit Blanc is like an interesting amalgamation of these. Like he has some of the like ticks and quirks that I would say of more like a Columbo than like a Sherlock.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's very like folksy, but he's folksy like Columbo, but he has like more sophistication.
Yeah, he also introduces him or his skill set in sort of the Columbo way of like I don't put puzzles together, I observe and watch as the pieces assemble themselves in front of me, which it feels very Columbo-y to me.
Yeah, but he just has like an air of like sophistication that like a Columbo or something like doesn't really have. I went with KK Slider from Animal Crossing.
Okay.
And the reason I did this is like I feel like KK Slider is very like composed and put together, but like as a musician, he understands like the underbelly of the world, right? Like he has like an understanding of it. So he's not like jaded or cynical, but he just like has an understanding of how people work. And I think it takes determination to make it in show business. And so I think like you need that in a detective as well. And I think Benoit Blanc is very like determined. But and again, he's like KK Slider is folksy, but he's not unsophisticated, right? KK Slider feels like removed from everybody a little bit, right? He's like, he's a little cool.
Well, and like I think they both share the quality of being kind of like effortlessly charming or like seemingly effortlessly charming. That like I will never get over the fact that KK Slider is the only character in all of Animal Crossing who doesn't wear clothes, and everyone is just like, okay,
right? Yeah, exactly. And it's like you feel like I could be friends with KK Slider. You could not be friends with KK Slider.
If KK Slider decided it was okay,
right? Yeah, yes, exactly. But also, you would never know. Like,
right?
He's just too like cool and aloof. While also like paying attention to everything.
Yeah,
that's a good pick.
I really like that. I could also see Benoit Blanc like pulling out a guitar next to me.
Yes.
And just
or like a mandolin because it's in Greece.
Yes. Oh, that's right. It is in Greece. Janelle Monáe got cast.
I am so excited for that.
It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be so good. Mark, also, so I'm going to use the that mention of a musical instrument to pivot to my pick, because there's also that part in Knives Out where he's sort of like cueing. It's never really clear what exactly he's doing, but like he just like hits a piano key after someone says something, and it's like either ask more about that or like something's not right there. And so like I was thinking about like characters that play music but don't like, that's not what they do, right? It's just like part of it. And then I was also thinking about Daniel Craig and that accent, and that this is someone who is not American, trying to show us what an American is. So, of course, I am going with Mike Jones from Star Tropics, the quintessential, this is what an American boy is.
Red hair, freckles, loves baseball,
has a yo-yo. And then there's also that chapter where you have to play the organ to unlock the pirate thing, whatever. So there's also the music connection there.
I think that's great.
Thanks.
I do feel like, because I just rewatched Knives Out today to prep for this.
Yeah.
And there is a bit of it where you wonder what Daniel Craig is thinking about America.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Ryan?
Okay. All right. So mine is a little, you could call it a stretch. This is one I knew you guys were not going to match on me because this one is kind of tenuous. But once I thought it, I couldn't unthink it.
Perfect.
So as I said, I rewatched Knives Out today. And really the introduction of Benoit Blanc is him in the shadows, not really speaking. And then you find out that he was hired mysteriously. But even so, he's very, like you said, he lays back and kind of lets the mystery solve itself in some ways. And then it's at the end of the the film where he has this huge moment where he comes out and is able to pull it all together, unveil the murderer and close it up. It's sort of almost like he looked like a little pink, like fluffy thing, and then he got really angry and opened his mouth really big, and he's Kirby.
I was looking for a place to put Kirby on this list. I think that's pretty good.
All right, thanks. I don't have a lot of defense of it, but as soon as I thought it, I was like, yeah, it's like Kirby.
I mean, Kirby is also one of those characters, and I guess like a lot of these detectives too, where you're just like sort of assured of his victory.
Mm-hmm.
And much like Benoit Blanc is just sort of like it's inevitable. The victory comes to him, and like it may become this like twisted nightmare horror by the end, but Kirby and Benoit Blanc can tackle it.
Yep.
Well, and I think like Kirby is also, basically the most powerful entity in the Nintendo universe.
This is true.
And I feel like in Knives Out, everybody on everybody in the story is out of sorts and like doesn't understand, like what's going on, or they all have their own agenda, and so everybody's like in a panic, like trying to put that into action. And Benoit Blanc is always kind of like the center of it, like that, like kind of like powerful like rock, where it's like he's very cool, he's very collected, he's like I'll figure this out and everything. And I guess what I'm saying is like Kirby is our rock. Let us consider what Kirby would do in any situation.
Yes.
And alternately, if Kirby needs to, he can just float above everything.
Which Benoit kind of does.
Kind of does, just to observe. These are all great picks. I am so happy with how this is going.
I do want one of these for us to have a match.
I know. I hope so.
And every one that goes by, I feel like less and less hope.
Well, we've got a lot of detectives
We
to
do
go
have
through
a lot
yet.
to go through. Okay.
So I will be going first on Franny Fisher. Now, I am not actually familiar with the Miss Fisher mysteries. I know, and I'm sorry. I think it's Pauline from Mario Odyssey. Am I wrong on that?
Patrick, you are so right on that because we have a match.
Oh my God, we have a match.
I also picked Pauline from Super Mario Odyssey. But go ahead.
Oh my God, I should have.
Well, I mean, this is mostly me queuing off of like the style of the characters. Franny is into dancing, and Pauline she's a singer in a band.
Yep.
But they're also both like no strangers to like rough and tumble situations. She was kidnapped by a gorilla. It's one of the formative events in her life. Pauline, not.
Franny Fisher's sister died, but it's
yes,
like the
exactly.
Same
It's like the same thing. Okay, great,
it's like,
great.
the same thing. Yes, no, I 100% agree with you. The stuff at the end of Super Mario Odyssey, if you talk to Pauline, like she'll quiz you on like stuff about her, and stuff she tells you is that her hat is her favorite possession. Franny loves fashion. Pauline loves eating cake. Franny also enjoys the finer things in life. Then again, that her capture in Donkey Kong was traumatic, although it helped her grow as a person. And like Ryan was saying, eerily similar to how Franny's sister like disappeared / was murdered, and by like this like crazy serial killer type guy.
Brutish.
Plus, Pauline also indicates that she had already seen the Seaside Kingdom by the time she met up with Mario, and desired to see the Cloud Kingdom due to having clouds that go on forever. And Franny is also very well traveled. I think Pauline is an amazing choice.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys did it. This could have been my chance to join you.
Well, who did you pick, Ryan?
Okay, I went with charm. That's the thing about Franny Fisher, is she charms everyone. Everyone who meets her is a little bit in love with her.
Yeah.
And I feel this way about this one character, even though I don't know that I've ever even played her except for Super Smash Brothers. And that is Rosalina.
Yes! I love it. Rosalina is one of the characters, and I'm sure there will be others that we talk about on this episode, that is like NCS bingo, right? Like, when is Rosalina going to come up? Because she is among the pantheon of like mega babes in
She's such
Nintendo
a babe,
games.
but she seems like she would be nice to you.
Yeah, yes.
Totally.
Like, she's great.
Well, and she adopts like Lumas, right?
Yes.
And so Franny looks out for the little people. Like that's
she
really her
an
thing.
Orphan
Yeah.
in the first season.
Yeah, these are both really great answers.
Oh man, who knew?
Okay, then we are moving on to Veronica Mars, and appropriately, Ryan, we will be starting with you.
I love Veronica Mars a lot.
I know you do.
And so I knew I needed to honor her, and there's a lot about V. I think one of my the best things, most remarkable, especially when looking at everyone else, like what sets her apart, because she's a great detective.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of a loner. She believes in justice. She will sacrifice things of herself in order to see justice done. But also,
or what she thinks justice is.
Yeah, she's got her own
which isn't
code.
always, yeah.
She's probably one of the more gray characters
totally.
that we were talking about today. But one of the most notable things about her is she's badass.
Yes.
And she was an 09er princess before.
All right.
So I'm going with chic.
Very good. I like that a lot. So she has the ability to like code switch between being like the Princess Zelda and being the more like almost PCHer, like that she can run with whatever crowd she needs to.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
And be celebrated with both.
Yeah.
So that's where I went. So you guys picked the same one, right?
I did not.
Mark? I did not. So Veronica Mars is probably the character that I'm least familiar with on this, but based on the couple episodes of the show that I've seen, I went with, and this is one that most of these I will stand strongly behind. This is one that you could argue me down. It's Wendy O. Koopa from Super Mario Brothers. Okay, she's the Koopa kid.
I don't think that's right.
All right. Here's
I don't think that's not.
Here's my reasoning.
I don't think
here's my reasoning.
Your reasoning.
All right. The Japanese New Super Mario Brothers Wii website called her a strong-minded tomboy. According to the German Nintendo Club comic, she loves disco dances.
Okay.
All right.
She's been shown to help people, like in Super Mario Wisdom Games Pictures Book 2, Mario and Wendy, which she helped Mario obtain a medicine for the poisonous bouquet she herself sent to Princess Peach, and even forced a Lakitu to give its cloud to Mario so he could reach the princess more quickly. I rest my case.
I mean, helpful, likes disco dances. This is Veronica.
Strong-minded?
Strong-minded for sure.
Yeah, strong-minded for sure.
And look, I'm all for more Koopa Kid representation in any of our lists. So the fact that we've mentioned 3 of them by now, almost half, I could not be happier. My pick for Veronica Mars, going again off of the aforementioned badass quality, the loner, someone who seeks what they perceive justice to be, but which may not always line up with what like the cops or the authority figures are doing. Also has a connection with an animal in the form of backup. I'm going with Samus Aran, the Metroid protagonist, who has all of those qualities, except her backup is a baby Metroid that she saved. So yeah, then that's it.
They're both blonde.
They're both blonde. Both wearing ponytails sometimes.
Yep. Sometimes they both wear ponytails. Yep. I like it. I feel like Samus is a very strong, badass character.
Yeah.
Who is willing to fight the power.
Sheik is really good too, though.
I'm not going to deny it.
All right. Next, we are moving on to Miss Marple.
Okay, another famous literary detective from Agatha Christie. So I feel like with Miss Marple, she sometimes she is like an old lady, and she doesn't really like hide that aspect of her, and so sometimes she comes across to people as like confused, but when it comes to solving mysteries, like she's really detail oriented. She has like a sharp understanding of human nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so my pick was Impa from Breath of the Wild.
Like the old Impa.
Yeah, like very like old Impa. And I feel like making this list made me realize that Nintendo does not have great representation. I couldn't think of any really like video game characters that are old women.
Nope.
Not a lot of video game protagonists.
Very difficult.
Are old women. But so Impa, I feel like, when she first meets Link and everything, I think she's just like she's seen it all. Oh, yeah. And I think she's just a very astute observer of character.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. And then also like that most of her guidance comes in the way of just like one of the things that I think is interesting about Miss Marple is that she's not uh like an active character so much as just like present and like talks her way through things. Like the rest of these characters are going to get into some sort of physical altercation, and there's no way that she's going to do that.
No.
Yeah.
She'll gossip a lot.
Yeah.
She loves to gossip, and she will get other people to do her dirty work. Like she'll get other people to like go investigate something.
She'll lightly suggest.
Yes.
She keeps her hands clean.
Right, which makes her like
plausible deniability.
The quest giver kind of character.
Yes.
So that that Impa is perfect for that. I went with another old woman Nintendo character. I found one. I went with Wrinkly Kong. Because Wrinkly Kong is a character that is also like often overlooked in our conversations about the Kongs or just Nintendo characters in general. And like I just having that sort of like in the background but paying attention is vitally important. Saves your game in Donkey Kong Country 3. And like you can go to like the school that she runs. Like all of it seems very Marple-y to me.
No, I like that a lot. And you found an old lady.
And I found an old lady.
I could not find an old lady. But I think of when I think of Miss Marple, I think of just like someone who society ignores. They just think of her as like she's going to go do her knitting. And she is going to knit, but while she's knitting, she's going to think about this murder. And so she's underestimated. And so you don't think, you don't see her coming. And so I went with someone else who is totally underestimated. Nobody sees them as a threat, but they can sometimes challenge you, and that is Wii Fit Trainer from Super Smash.
I love this. I love this. The Wii Fit Trainer.
Yeah, that's true. Like really difficult to read what they're thinking.
Yeah, no expression.
I don't really expect much from them, like as far as like active, you know, like I mean, active, yes, but getting into the middle of like a mess, no.
Like very easy to underestimate.
Yeah,
yes,
totally.
You almost forget they exist.
Good, yeah, you do.
But how powerful are they in Super Smash Brothers when used by like somebody who knows how to wield them?
Yeah, very powerful.
Someone with a strong sense of irony.
That brings us to Nancy Drew. And I have to admit that I was shooting in the dark a little bit on this one, partially because I feel like Nancy Drew as a character has been so malleable.
Yeah, there's so many permutations.
There's so many different permutations, and like you know, I have seen things and read things, and then was just today trying to be like, okay, let's get a handle on who this is, and I just couldn't like I couldn't tell you about this character's personality.
She's very boring.
Yeah,
she's a girl detective, and when she was written, that was enough.
That was enough.
That was a whole log line.
That it was like Hardy Boys, but a girl.
Well, so I was looking into the history of, because I agree with you, and like the most I'm familiar with Nancy Drew is from like the late 80s, early 90s when like my sisters had the like super mysteries where they would go to a ski lodge with the Hardy Boys. You know, so it was like there was a lot of like romance and stuff. Like that was a big part of it. So I went looking, and like in her history, like in her original incarnation in like the 30s, she was known for being like very like confident, competent, like totally independent, speak truth to power. Like she wasn't, and then they rewrote a lot of the stories in the 50s and 60s and 70s to get rid of the racism, and at that time they really made her more just kind of like white bread, just like, okay, I'm you know, just like not a lot of personality, just basically like I'm a girl and I like to solve mysteries,
right? Like a curious girl. And I read, my mom had a lot of the books, so I read like her copies. It was never my favorite because they were not very juicy.
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, I still have them on my shelf, so I guess I have some affection.
Does she solve murders, or is it mostly
sometimes
just like,
murders, but it could just be like a missing clock.
Got it.
So it depends, but it could be a murder. And it's a lot of like her saying she's not going to poke her nose in and then keep poking her nose in.
So she's a liar.
Yeah, pretty much. But she gets away with it.
Okay. So that is like, clarifying.
Yes, and she is a precursor to things like Veronica Mars, but is much in terms of, we talked about the gray. There's no gray.
Right. She's just like,
and it turns out at the end of every book she was right, and everything turned out okay.
So then I have two candidates, and I'm not sure which one is right. It is either going to be Mifa, from
that's a good pick from Breath of the Wild,
or Princess Ruto from Ocarina of Time. So it is one of the young Zora princesses is going to be Nancy Drew, and I think probably Mifa is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could make an argument for either of them. When I looked at Nancy Drew, I was like, okay, I'm gonna choose the one that's like confident, competent, and like independent. And so, but there is such like a broad spectrum of like who Nancy Drew is that I think you.
Also,
could
then maybe it
like,
is Princess Ruto, because she like is very like strong and like especially like in after the time jump, because before the time jump she's just this like kind of weird obstacle that Link has to carry around in one dungeon, but after that she becomes like the Sage of Water, so like I don't know, I think I I can't really back it up.
I mean, my opinion is that with Nancy Drew, you could kind of, and if somebody is way like has read a lot of Nancy Drew, like please write into us and tell us otherwise. But I feel like you could kind of paint anybody as
they made
Nancy
a show
Drew
on CW that's Nancy Drew that's supernatural. It's called Ghosts. So like
she doesn't summon the ghost of Sherlock Holmes, does she?
Well, we don't know. I hope not, because that's a gold mine of an idea. We're gonna make it happen.
Ryan, who do you have for?
I went
Nancy
for
Drew?
someone spunky, young, and kind of, to my knowledge, and I haven't played this game a lot, but I have played this character in Smash, and that's where a lot of my opinion of this character comes from. I just feel like you could project whatever you want on her, but you can't deny she's a girl and she's spunky, and that would be Inkling Girl.
Oh, nice. I like that. I like that.
That's good.
Because I like, I'm assuming, I have not seen the CW show, that the modern iteration of her is much more like spunky.
Yeah.
Than, and so, yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, no, that's good.
I also picked someone that is kind of, like a go-getter. Like she's a Kong of action. She is Dixie Kong.
Okay.
Is my pick for Nancy Drew.
That's good. That's good. I like that both of your characters have the like a little bit of like the 90s attitude to them, which I just wonder if that's like us processing Nancy Drew as we were growing up, right? And so like you'd see her as like a rad 90s character. That's very funny. Okay. After Nancy Drew comes Philip Marlowe. Who are we starting with now? Ryan, I believe?
I believe me.
Okay.
Okay, so this one, I don't know. Okay, I didn't ask any questions about what counts as a Nintendo character.
Perfect. Yeah.
So
great.
I went by the guidelines of things that I either knew were Nintendo or that are on Smash.
Yeah.
That was when I opened it up, because I had trouble with straight Nintendo characters coming up with someone for Philip Marlowe, because Philip Marlowe is so noir.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so complex and like, not a villain and not
really a hero.
And it's really like his stories out of these are like heavy in a way that like difficult to find Nintendo characters that reflect that weight.
Yeah, so I cheated too, don't worry.
Okay, cool. So I went with Solid Snake.
Oh,
I thought about Solid Snake.
That is really good.
And like mercenary, beaten by the system.
Always a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Yeah.
Needs to shave.
Needs to shave.
So that's where I went. But I know that's kind of a cheat.
I really like it. It's less of a cheat than mine, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And I also later went outside of Nintendo. For Philip Marlowe, this is where I chose Samus Aran.
Okay.
And I did it because it's like I feel like Philip Marlowe is like weary, but he is like determined. Yeah. And he goes into situations like he misjudges situations all the time, but he goes in like expecting things to go poorly, but it doesn't stop him from like doing what he thinks is right.
Yeah.
And then also I feel like a hallmark of Philip Marlowe novels are their like first person narrated. So it has that really heavy like noir, like she walked into my office, like that sort of thing. And that got me thinking of the voiceover narration in God. Other M. And like how like you could totally do that in like the noir style. So I chose Samus Aran is my Philip Marlowe.
It's that is a pretty good pick, and especially queuing off of the Other M version of her, of being, because that, like, by Other M, that's when they start telling stories where she's like dealing with PTSD and like is, frequently just like destroyed by her own life, right? Like,
Right.
just can't continue on because of everything she's experienced before her. That's very Philip Marlowe. Mark, I'm going to recall us back to an earlier conversation that we had about Kid Icarus games that never were. And while we were talking about what game would be on Kid Icarus for the Wii, I pitched a grown-up Pit flying around the galaxy.
Icarus, I think we called this
Right,
iteration.
we're dropping the kid, and it's just Icarus, and he is a grizzled warrior who's been fighting for too long, no longer cares about whatever.
This is some Last Jedi shit.
Yes, it totally is. But I'm not going to take this version of Pit. I'm going to take this version of Dark Pit, who is not an intergalactic warrior, but an intergalactic detective. Also very much in the vein of Metroid Other M too.
I like that a lot. Yeah, I think that totally works. You know what I was just thinking is I feel like you could almost pull any of the Fire Emblem Three Houses characters post time jump and have them be
God.
like, and have them in that like Philip Marlowe vein.
Maybe not Claude, but I feel like Dimitri.
Like Dimitri. Oh, Dimitri
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God, change all of
him
our
down.
answers to Dimitri.
Yeah, I think we made a mistake.
Oh my God. Eye patch or no eye patch?
I think eye patch, but I could go either way.
Okay.
My gut's telling me eye patch,
Yeah.
but you could convince me.
All right. Now I think we are now to the heavy hitters and the two characters that the three of us at this table care about the most.
That's true.
Columbo and Jessica Fletcher. We will start with Columbo. Mark, you are up first.
Okay, so this is one that before we started, Patrick, you said that
Yeah.
there was one that we both probably had on our minds, but you decided not to go with it.
That's right.
For that reason, and I did go with it, or what I think it is. And talking about NCS Bingo, I'm talking Rusty Slugger from Rusty's Real Deal Baseball.
Yeah, of course you are.
Okay. So, Rusty, his story doesn't exactly match up with Columbo's, because Rusty is like, at the beginning of that game, he is a miserable person.
Right. His wife just left him.
His wife left him. He's not confident.
He's not seeing his kids.
He's raising his 10 kids.
Oh, that's right.
He is supposed to be cooking meals for them, but he's a terrible cook.
Oh,
so his
no.
life is kind of a mess, right? And then
Right.
like through the course of the game, things kind of come together for him as you're playing it. But what I think Rusty does have that is very Columbo-esque, he's very like, he has that like hangdog, very like unassuming, very like oh, don't mind me type thing like
Yeah,
going
totally.
on. And so it makes people willing to trust him, right? Like famously, Columbo, if he says to you, oh, one more thing, right? The thing he's about to lay down is like the linchpin of the whole case.
Right.
What Rusty's one more thing is like, he wants to make a deal with you.
Yeah.
And when he's making a deal with you, like, that's like the whole like linchpin of his situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's Rusty Slugger. Has that same, like, I could see Rusty in a trench coat. I
Totally.
could, yeah. Same, like driving a crappy car.
Mm-hmm. Rusty also, like, I feel like one of the coolest things about Rusty's Real Deal Baseball is that it is like a mini game collection where you have to actually buy the individual mini games. Like the game itself is free, but if you want to play these other games, you have to spend real money. But you can barter with him. The game will.
He loves donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can use donuts to bring the price down. You can also just ask for a lower price. So like there is a part of the game where you just have to like talk to him, and it's like a trick, which feels like Columbo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where like all he needs to do is just talk to you, and he's gonna get what he wants.
Right, exactly, and especially because like Columbo gets people to talk, and they think that they're like outsmarting him.
Right.
And with Rusty, right, like you can bargain down But here's the thing.
You're still spending money on it.
And Rusty is selling digital goods, right? Like the cost of development
there's
has already...
no scarcity.
Exactly.
Already done.
So like it's already done. So anything he sells, like the profit margin is amazing.
Yeah.
So like who's really getting the good deal there?
Yeah. For Columbo,
Mhm.
I went with I went with a venerable character, someone who has like age and experience, but is also someone who you don't really look at as someone of status, but is someone who is always there, always around, and always feeding information and always getting information. I went with Peppy Hare from Star Fox, the sort of elder statesman of the Star Fox crew. And I just I really what got me excited about it was I was just projecting Columboisms onto Peppy, and just like, man, it'd be fun if like his spaceship was all like banged up and like he's smoking a cigar in there.
He's got a basset hound.
He's got a basset hound. He's stopped. Well, so he has a relationship with General Pepper, who is a basset hound. So there we go.
Yeah, that's a very good one, and I agree with you that it is that kind of like venerable status.
Yeah,
where he feels very seasoned, right? Like Columbo's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah,
so you should trust what he's saying.
Also, that Peppy shows up to like some Star Fox business, and like some other members of Star Fox are like, "Oh, sorry, you can't come by this way." And he's like, "Oh, I'm actually a member of Star Fox," and that's the Flash's badge. That happens.
That is one of my favorite things in Columbo when
funny.
People they're like think he's just a random guy who's lost. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Lieutenant. I leaned into like the blue collar.
Yeah.
Underestimated. And I think it's easy for us to forget because at this point, this person, it's like at the end of watching all the Columbos, you see how good he is. You like forget how could anyone underestimate him. But if you really look at some like little plumber guy, is he really going to save the world and a princess?
Yeah.
Turns out, he is. So I went Mario.
I like Mario, and I feel like Mario, while more put together than Luigi, still has like a disheveled energy to him.
Yeah.
He smells. You've talked about how Columbo smells.
Yeah.
But Mario smells.
We talked about it on previous episodes, and then again before we rolled tonight, that Columbo definitely smells, which actually made me wonder if anyone was going to go the Wario route, a canonically stinky, but like Wario is just too unpleasant, and I feel like I can't attribute that to
Wario. Like
Columbo
draws too much attention to himself in a way that like that's not Columbo's MO at all.
Yeah.
And obviously Wario is Jessica Fletcher.
Whoa!
No, I'm kidding.
Whoa!
I'm kidding.
Let's move on to Jessica Fletcher.
Okay.
I will start.
For Murder, She Wrote, beloved
Yes.
character portrayed by Angela Lansbury.
Just forever.
Yep.
So again, this is one that I feel like I come at from a little bit of a weaker place, so I'm glad I'm going first. Jessica Fletcher, obviously a writer, a creative person who has like come up with scenarios and then also solves crimes. So she is a creator. She is a queen. I'm going with Wart, the king of Dreamland.
Okay.
Wart also only really has power in Dreamland, just as Jessica Fletcher only has crime-solving skills in Cabot Cove.
No.
Damn it. It's okay. You tried, but no. This is your Wendy
O. Koopa.
Hey, I'm willing to back off of it immediately.
There's nowhere where I thought you were gonna say Earth, and I was gonna be like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yes.
She hasn't gone to space.
We don't know how she'd do in space.
There's no Jessica Fletcher in space?
Maybe in one of the novels.
Yeah. I've only read a few of them. They're not all good.
Well, all right. I'll cede the floor to you.
All right. Well, and I love Jessica Fletcher. Murder, She Wrote is one of my favorite shows of all time. I named my dog Fletcher after Jessica Fletcher. I love Murder, She Wrote. I love Cabot Cove, but I also love that season where she goes to New York and is a professor. She can do that. Professor, writer, and solving crimes.
Triple threat.
Amazing.
Classic triple threat.
So to me, she's sort of just like this amazing superhero that you like. She's gonna get it done. She's gonna win the day. You don't really have to worry about that. So I went with Samus.
I like that Samus makes an appearance on all 3 of our lists as different characters.
I feel like you guys did better of making those connections for Samus, but I still feel like and honestly, it was sort of like I think I feel about Jessica Fletcher the way you feel about Samus, Patrick.
Probably true.
So.
I found this one really difficult.
Yeah.
Because like you, Ryan, like I love Murder, She Wrote. It's been a part of my life, since I was a kid. I just absolutely love that show. And so this is so I just found it really difficult to find a character as good as Jessica Fletcher. I want to live my life more like Jessica. She's confident. She doesn't take nonsense or sass from anybody. She does what she wants to do. Like previously we talked about Luigi being maybe like a younger version of Hercule Poirot. I chose an aged Chun-Li from Street Fighter to be Jessica Fletcher. So Chun-Li is resourceful and dedicated Interpol agent who takes her job seriously.
True.
Replace Interpol agent with former teacher and current mystery novel writer, and you're talking about Jessica Fletcher.
Yeah, that's true.
Chun-Li has, like her dad was murdered, and so she spends a lot of time investigating murders. In fact, like after, I believe in Street Fighter 4, her story is that like she retired after M. Bison died. And so she's kind of like bored in retirement. So she just starts looking into like murders and disappearances.
That is Jessica. Because she was bored and also depressed because Frank died.
Right.
That's why she started writing her novels, and then she was still kind of bored. That's why she solves crime.
Yeah. And so, and they both have a rockin' bod.
Yep. I have the book that Angela Lansbury wrote about how she keeps her bod.
Oh, do you the fitness thing from
book,
like the 80s?
It's essentially like eat cottage cheese only and do these stretches, and you can look like Angela Lansbury.
That's exactly what Chun-Li says in her book too. So an aged Chun-Li. So not the Chun-Li we're familiar with. Chun-Li in the future who is, like slowed down a little bit, but still has all of the like sass from her former adventures.
I love it.
It's funny. I don't know that I would describe Chun-Li ever as sassy, but the rest of it lines up. So I like
Jessica
it.
is sassy, but in a very like, she's never mean. And she doesn't take anything anyone says like personally.
Totally.
So it's like sass, but it's more just like, oh.
Yeah, you're right. Sass is not the right term. It's more just like she's just very comfortable being herself.
Yes.
And so she says what's on her mind. She doesn't let people walk over her. She, she's just like, no, like I'm not going to let you do that, or no, I need this. And it's why she's successful.
She's the best.
Are there any detectives that we have missed that we need to now litigate here?
I don't know if litigate's the right word because I don't know that you guys watch this show.
Okay.
We talked about a lot of shows at the beginning. But I just think vibe-wise, the boys from Psych, Sean and Gus, they're men, but they're boys, have ice climber energy.
Just because they're always together?
They're together. They work together.
Okay,
they get things done together. But they're also like, you can't take them that seriously.
Sure.
They're goofy boys. And also, you would never call them men.
Sure. Just like you would never call the ice climbers men.
No.
Even though one of them is a woman, but.
Yeah, you would. But you would. I mean, they're canonically adults, right?
I actually don't know.
But they don't give adult vibes.
No, they absolutely don't
so
give adult
kids,
vibes.
I call them the psych kids and the psych.
Yeah, that tracks. Speaking of kids, what about the Scooby-Doo gang?
Whoa.
I mean, first of all, do they count as detectives?
Yes.
One thing that is interesting about Scooby-Doo, though, is like they mostly inadvertently solve all of they're successful.
Well, Shaggy and Scooby inadvertently solve.
Yeah, Velma's usually. I feel like Velma, Fred, and Daphne are investigating leads. But you're right. There a lot of luck plays into it.
Yeah.
And having to like lean on the right door that turns out to be a staircase.
Right.
But like you can't fault them for being lucky.
Yeah. So they're the lucky detectives. Is there anybody else who stumbles into adventure?
I feel like, okay, so I would say that Luigi is Shaggy.
Oh, no, that is interesting. And Scooby is Polterpup.
Scooby is Polterpup.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Velma is Toadette.
Okay.
And then Daphne can be Peach, and Fred can be Mario.
Uh-huh.
And that's all of them.
Done. Perfect.
And then, of course, the world's greatest detective, Batman.
Yes. Which, oh yeah, who is the Batman of the Nintendo universe?
Okay, and I don't know if these came out on Nintendo, so this might not work. But there were Murder, She Wrote video games. So I'm going to say Batman
Jessica Fletcher
is Jessica Fletcher in the Murder, She Wrote video games. They're both the world's greatest detectives.
All right, let's close this segment out. That's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Ryan, thank you so much for helping us.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Sure. I have a show called Same Day Shipping with my friends Patrick and Colin and Kelly, and we talk about we call it fictional relationships, and we get very intense about it. So if you like this kind of conversation, I think you might like that.
Yeah, it's a very similar conversation.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to do it for this episode of the show. Again, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, or follow. Not subscribe. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, please share it on Facebook or Twitter, wherever you share stuff. It helps us out a bunch when you do. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at NinCart Society. And Ryan is at R Mogge.
Yep.
And then the show also has a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying, and just one more thing. And thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Mia. Hey, it's Allie. And we host the Rom-Com Review podcast, P.S. I Love Rom-Coms. Each week, we'll have incredible guests come and discuss a new rom-com, grand gestures, meet-cutes, and of course, that elusive chemistry. Mia, what are you doing holding that giant boombox over your head? I'm hoping to win over listeners with this grand gesture. Take us back! Find a new episode every week. And subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Brought to you by Campfire Media. Wow, you're still holding that boombox.
Yeah, I've got great upper body strength. Thanks, CrossFit.
P.S. I love rom-coms. Campfire.